We opened Fence St. Louis in March of 2023. We're a women-owned and women-led business located in Shrewsbury in the St. Louis metropolitan area. We teach saber exclusively to ages 5 all the way up through any age of adults. Fencing comes out of swordsmanship, of course, where it was useful to have a way to practice swordsmanship without actually lethally killing your opponent. You wanted to be able to be prepared in some way, so you had to have ways to practice. The modern history of fencing is that in the late 1800s is when fencing became popular more as a sport than as a method of trying to kill somebody or to duel or anything like that. So when it became more of a sport, different organizations popped up across the world that were promoting the sport-specific side of it. It is one of the few disciplines that's been in the modern Olympics since the inception of the modern Olympics in 1896. So there are 3 different types of fencing weapons. There's épée, foil, and saber. Épée is probably the most popular in the United States in terms of numbers. It is a point weapon, which means that you hit with the point of the blade. You cannot hit with the sides of the blade or the edges of the blade. Full body is target, so from the top of your head to the bottom of your toes. And if you both hit, you both get a point. There's no rules called right-of-way in it. Right-of-way is kind of like something that governs foil and saber. Basically, if 2 people hit and both lights are on the machine, only one person can get the point, and it's usually the attacker or the person who stops the attack last. Next is foil. Foil is another point weapon, so you have to hit with the point. However, the target is only the torso, so that's it. Saber, which is what we teach here, is very fast compared to the other 2. The other 2 keep time in them, which means you run a clock down. And in saber, you don't run any time because it goes so fast that by the time you set a clock to go, it would just be stopped again. Saber, you're allowed to hit with the edge of the blade. It's a cutting weapon instead of a point or thrust weapon. Waist up through head, all the way down to the bottom of the sleeves is the target for saber. So there's a lot of places that you can hit. What happens first is the referee is kind of in control of the bout. So there's a referee and 2 fencers. And the referee is going to get them on guard on the fencing strip and then have them test, which is just basically hitting to make sure everything that works. And then is going to say on guard, ready, fence.
Guard, ready, fence.
And once they say fence, the fencers are allowed to choose whatever action they want within the rules to hit each other. And once they score, it's up to the referee to parse the actions and tell us whose point it was and why it was their point. Some different actions that happen in fencing would be an attack. So in saber, the person who attacks gets the point unless their attack is stopped in some way. So if someone stops an attack, they can do that a couple of different ways. One example would be a parry riposte, which is just hitting the blade and blocking the blade and then hitting that person. Or it could be by dodging or making that person miss and then taking over with your own attack. It could be with a counterattack, which you usually have to set up as a single light action, so you have to make it so that they can't hit you at the same time, otherwise it would be their point. So there was a study that was done where they actually determined that fencing was one of the safer sports in the Olympics in terms of injury rate while at the Olympics. One of the reasons for that is all the protective gear that we use. It is a very moderated sport when it comes to the gear, from the blades to the jackets that you wear, all have safety ratings that have to be adhered to. For women and girls, we have to wear a chest protector, and that's a hard plastic covering that goes over the chest. Men can wear them as well, but it's not required based on the rules. The next one is a plastron or an underarm protector, which is a single sleeve that goes on your handedness side. So if you're left-handed, it goes on your left side. If you're right-handed, it goes on your right side. And what that does is when you put the jacket on, the jacket has a seam that goes up the center, and the plastron has seams on either side of that. So if something were to break and go through that seam on your jacket, it would be stopped by the plastron. The other is the mask, which is, of course, rated a certain way to resist a certain amount of force in order to be safe, and it's the same for the gear as well. I love fencing. It has been a constant in my life since I started it, and I love it because it's an individual sport, so you're kind of in control of yourself, and I feel like there's a lot of self-discovery that you can make within an individual sport. And I love being able to share that as a coach with my students as well, and see them gain confidence, see them gain that kind of personal responsibility and just grow as individuals, not just as athletes.
I've been fencing for almost a year now, and I like about it is that it makes my reflexes better, and it makes me able to think in tougher times and way faster.
I learned about like working with the team and also like different skills for like PE and stuff.
I play competitive video games a lot of the time, and when I saw fencing on a TV show, it looked pretty fun. I was looking for a physical activity, and so it helps me keep in shape while also being pretty engaging.
Favorite part about fencing is the age range. I think there's like 12-year-olds here that still beat me, and then there's like 80-year-olds that I still beat. So it feels like no matter how old you are, you can still fence, which is nice.
I like that it's like a unique sport, but it's also really fun and engaging. I didn't want to play basketball in the winter, and so we were looking at other options. And we looked into fencing clubs, and we saw this one. If you want to learn to fence, it's a great place, and Anna Maria is amazing.
I also like how it's, for the most part, a really nice community. Because we're a smaller community, because everybody kind of knows each other. You get to build a lot of relationships across like different fencing clubs in different regions within the United States. And I think that that's really important as a sport as well.